Hey guys, Crink Crazy here, and well, as you can tell, it's a Sunday, which means it's time for your weekly installment of Wrestling Rant, the original and the official. Yeah, you're not going to see me doing these anywhere else, people. Anyway, we know we are only, what, 2 weeks from Vengeance, right? And I was wondering over the course of the last, couple of months since the name was announced back, is the return of the Vengeance pay-per-view a good or a bad thing? Because I bet a lot of you are thinking the exact same. That we wanted to see the pay-per-view back. We wanted to know that the WWE's gimmick pay-per-view idea has basically fucked up. Then they've got the old pay-per-views back. They've backtracked all the way to their archives, picked out a nickname that they've used before, and then done exactly what they have to do with it. Give us what we apparently want. You know what? I've got some reasons for that. You know why? Because I divulge opinion, I pick at it, I literally gouge it millions of times. And, well, that's whatever my opinion is, you get from it. So if I'm a bit hyper and excited, I know there's roast pork cooking downstairs and I can smell it from here. God, I want some of that. Anyway, let's go on with this. First off, I've probably mentioned all the good sections in that tiny amount I've just had waffled on for you. But still, first, it's an old pay-per-view, which will, of course, renews fan nostalgia and the want for old events. Because if we, in any form of sport, I do consider professional wrestling a sport, and I know a lot of you do as well. But in sport, we often look back on the good days, the good old days, the past, as we know it as, in great fervour and excitement, don't we? Just going to move this. And basically, it's no different for professional wrestling, because we look back on the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, hell, the 90s, and the early 2000s with a hell of a lot of goodwill and cheer, whilst looking at today's product thinking, it could be better, or it's so shit you're stopping. Which, to be honest, is ridiculous, because I bet in years gone by we're going to think and look back to this and think, it's not the best. Much like the New Generation era in the mid-90s. So we're not going to look back on it with too much applause, but then look back on the good bits of it with a lot of goodwill and cheer. But this fan nostalgia can be recouped any other way, and that's mostly either by Attitude Era stars returning, and it was done most recently, of course, by Cody Rhodes bringing back the old IC title belt. That was officially a mark-out moment for anyone up until about 98. I think 97, I think it was when, of course, Stone Cold threw the belt in the river and they got a new one, so I don't know if that's exactly how it happened, but memory serves all. And to get older fans, I'm saying, okay, this pay-per-view hasn't been on for a while. You know what? It hasn't been on for 7 or so, well, actually not even 7, right? 8, 9, 10, about 4 years. They could say, okay, this is an old pay-per-view that I remember being very good. I'll watch it. It gets old fan nostalgia going, that we all remember these things. Remember how good the event has been to us. And therefore gives us an incentive to watch it, thinking, will it live up to it? Second, the tagline of Vengeance can actually be used for something in promos and feuds, which cannot be done with a gimmick pay-per-view name unless it has some form of standard to it. Now, do you know what I mean by that? Royal Rumble is probably the only gimmick pay-per-view which can actually technically be used. I'm going to go to the Royal Rumble and win my trip to WrestleMania. You can use that. Money in the Bank. I'm going to get that briefcase. It's not really as good, but you know what I mean. And it's where this Vengeance pay-per-view comes on. If you've seen the promo, the Mark Henry promo that was played during Hell in a Cell, it says, Vengeance will be mine. It works, doesn't it? You can use it in promos. You can use it anytime. Because it has marketability. Armageddon. Well, it's the battle for Armageddon. If you remember Freddie Blassie's old intro to the 2002 and 2000 events. And even No Mercy, you can put it in there. You all kinds of these pay-per-views. Backlash. All these types of events with marketable tagline names that you could easily put into promos, speeches, t-shirts. It can work. And that's why, actually, to be honest, you can't go to use Hell in a Cell or TLC in any of these, can you? I mean, there are obviously some names that I've come up with recently which have been alright, but they still don't have the same fucking marketability, do they? So it actually, to be honest with you, works out well. And third, and I think this is probably the most important, that it highlights that WWE have listened to us, the fans, and brought the event back. Because we have been shitting in their eardrums since day one about having all these pay-per-view names taken away from us when they were great pay-per-view names. And I've mentioned it in the past about the lack of prestige of these gimmick pay-per-views and how awful they are because they don't have any depth to them, because these fans have wanted these old names to stay because of, like I said, because of nostalgia, because of the fact it's got good stuff attached, they have history, and because they've brought this back highlights a great thing, that they are actually listening to us. And it's all good to listen to the fans, isn't it, Vince? Yeah, don't let your money talk about it, because honestly, I've always said your money does not speak any louder than we do. So yeah, I gotta keep reminding you. But of course, with a good side to an argument, there's always a bad side to the argument. It's what structures opinion and debate. So I bet a lot of you thinking, rolling around in the warmth of that good nature, thinking, oh, it feels so good to have Vengeance back, doesn't it? But that can all disappear pretty damn quickly. The bad terms. Number one, that this pay-per-view could remind people, and probably will, of the Benoit tragedy. Because obviously it happened in the weekend of the last time Vengeance was held in 2007, which was Vengeance Night of Champions. Now, think about it this way. A lot of you guys, whenever Vengeance is brought up, it's obviously going to be brought up. Because I've been on wrestling sites the last couple of weeks, and I've been seeing reminiscences of Vengeance. Lists about the greatest moments of Vengeance, the worst moments of Vengeance, what we all remember about Vengeance, and it really goes to me that they always mention this. And obviously, I haven't watched the event since it happened for obvious reasons. Well, not because the event has affected me in any tragic way, but the fact that I hate censorship. It's one of my main pet peeves of life. And knowing they have censored it, and they've overdubbed the "We Want Chris" chants with ECW chants. It's like, I guess how I can tell canned heat on SmackDown. I can tell all kinds of stuff when things have been overdubbed or retaped or reshot. I can tell all those things. And it's what bothers me. And that's the only thing that bothers me about it. I can remember and go, oh yeah, that happened then, didn't it? Some people will remember and feel really, really, really disturbed. And some will, I bet some people will think, okay, it's Vengeance. What happened last time Vengeance was held? Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't feel too good about ordering this now. And that could be a significant problem, trying to market this event, because, of course, it'll always have that negative stigma attached. Number two, it shows that with pay-per-view names, WWE has run out of new ideas, and to the point where they have to renew old ones. This is a complete contradiction of the last point, really, that I mentioned in the good section, because, I mean, they thought of some good names, in my opinion, which is Breaking Point. I loved that name, and the logo they came up with it. What else? Capital Punishment was okay if they put it in Texas, and then used the electric chair stage from King of the Ring 01. Over the Limit I thought was okay. Bragging Rights was actually, to be honest, a good idea, but they didn't put it at the right time. But the name actually rang out well and true. Now, what else? New Year's Revolution. I fucking love that. But, you see, when it comes to a name being scrapped, the Vengeance pay-per-view name was the first name of an established pay-per-view that was scrapped after the Benoit tragedy. Because, of course, it would have been. The next year was just Night of Champions. And I think, it was a bit of a shock to have it scrapped in the first place. And I feel with the names, all they've had recently are gimmick pay-per-views. Or in the case of Capital Punishment, fitting a gimmick around the location of the event. If they're going to do that, give it Canadian Stampede for fuck's sake. But Canadian Stampede already used as an in-your-house event in the mid-90s. Apparently one of the best pay-per-views of all time. Please tell me if that's true. I want to buy the damn thing. And I look at the fact that the only other pay-per-view name I can think of that I think would be a fantastic thing is British Uprising. But then, of course, I know all well and good that's from the FWA, the Frontier Wrestling Alliance, here in the UK. That's their pay-per-view name. So I mean, honestly, even NXT wasn't an original idea. It's not a pay-per-view name, but it's a show name that they could not think up an actual name for. They ended up having to buy out the rights to it from an independent wrestling promotion in Scotland. So, it proves that we're bringing back an old pay-per-view name. WWE really don't know what the fuck they're doing. Their creative guys can't think of a good pay-per-view name, which one hasn't been used before, and second, shows something different. Sure, you want to capture the intensity inside a name, but I don't know. I just don't think they've got what it takes to think of a good pay-per-view name, but it does show bringing back the old ones will be good on the other side of the track, of course. When you look at the good opinion, it works out right. And finally, point number 3. And this is obviously turning with the first point. Basically, fan nostalgia, isn't it? It'll remind people of the better events held under the past name. And it'll discount this new one as being rubbish in the process. Because we look at the first 5 anyway. And they have so many good memories for us wrestling fans. 2001. Taker versus RVD for the hardcore title. And the Undisputed Championship matches. 2002, Rock versus Angle versus Taker, and of course Triple H choosing whether to go to Raw or SmackDown. I don't know if there's any other matches. 2003, Guerrero Benoit, Lesnar Show and Angle. 2004 was predominantly remembered, of course, for Orton Edge, which I still need to watch, mind you, and also Benoit Triple H for what it was worth. And of course, 2005, who could have forgotten Batista Triple H? The barbed wire steel chair! I don't need to say any more, but that's inside a Hell in a Cell. That's ridiculous. I watched it the other night, actually. God, I'm sick. But you see, we remember these events. And this is where I get back to where I've seen all these reminiscing. This is where fan nostalgia bites you in the ass. Because you remember all of what's happened. And you don't have any anticipation towards the new pay-per-view, the new show. And that's the problem I actually have with wrestling fans today. Because I look forward as much as I can to the product we have. Okay? And I hate it when these old fans do not give a shit about the new product because they only care about what's happened in the past. And I hate fans like that. If you could look forward to the future in something, while knowing the past exists, looking back on it in your own time, thinking, okay, it's okay, but I want to look forward to make sure I can see that the future is bright. Even if the future looks a bit dim, still keep your hope up. That's why I hate fans who just look at the past and say, oh, this is the best, everything now is shit. I hate that. And this is where I say to all wrestling fans who are like that, grow a pair, watch the fucking show, and do not say, oh, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Sure, people thought that in 1995 when the new generation period was going on. Mark Pearson nearly stopped watching wrestling at that time because he thought it was shit, but persevered through the Attitude Era and onwards. And the same should apply today, even if you are finding some parts of it crap, or you're looking back on the past thinking, oh, it's really shit compared. You've got to persevere. I mean, I started watching in early 2002, 2003-ish, and I haven't looked back. I still look back on those days and think, okay, they were great times, because I have immense nostalgia. But at the same time, I look forward and thinking, there should be great stuff coming. And I hate it when people just don't bother looking at the future with good hindsight. Now, that's a lot of you IWC members out there. So, you know what? My proverbial thing for the week, give this thing a fucking chance. Sure, there aren't any matches announced for it, really, at the moment, with only 2 weeks to go, but give it a chance. Seriously, give it a fucking chance. And you know what? Well, is it a good idea to bring this pay-per-view back overall, though? We're going to let the buy rate and the opinion of the people decide that. I mean, I know the opinion of the people is going to be a bit crap, so I'll fly on my computer, get the fuck off. But I will say this. Fan opinion and buy rate will decide it all. I know the fan opinion will be shit compared, because I know it will. Knowing the last point, it definitely will be. Guys, I'm Queen Crazy. That's the end of my rant. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't, click the button up there. Comments in the comments section. If you want to add me on Facebook, the link will be in the description. Also, guys, click on my channel link up there. You'll be able to put questions into my Q&A. Hope if you haven't done that yet, go ahead. You've only got about 2 or 3 weeks to go. I'll see you probably for my In the News bulletin next week. Hope you'll be there for that. I've been Crazy, you've been people watching. I'll see you then. Cheers.